uh, for us this evening is just really to kind of go through some of the highlights from each of the departments through 2024. Talk a little bit about some of the budget implications that we've got for 25, and then what we're really planning on doing in 25 going forward. So the plan this evening, if we go to the next slide, is to I'll go through the executive and the administrative budgets. Then Nicole will go through the community development and events and park and recreation budgets. Chief and lieutenant will go through police, and then not last but not least, by certainly, Joe gets stuck going through public works, utilities, and irrigation, and perhaps some of additional park stuff. So that's the order of business that we'll go through. If we go, Sheila, if you take us to the organizational structure, this is just the organizational structure of, really the town board obviously controls everything. Then you've got manager, town attorney, then you've got the departments, clerk, treasurer, police, community development, public works, and utilities as our major funds. So looking at the board of trustees and a budget, the only thing that really changed in this year's budget is the addition. We added in $10,000 for the downtown business improvement grant that hadn't been budgeted in the past. But it's a program that we advertise out on the website. It funds exterior improvements in our downtown business area, which is basically, 5th through 9th. On Main Street, it's a 50% match required, and the maximum grant amount is $1,000. So generally, to get the maximum, you'd have to do a $2,000 facade type improvement or landscaping, something along those lines, signage, etc. But we hadn't budgeted that before, and we had actually looked to use some of those funds this year. We didn't end up needing to for La Placida when we were dealing with their garbage enclosure or location. We had offered that up, but we never got to the point where we had to use it. Probably the more important piece for the board is your contributions, about $36,000. The list that you've had in the past is Youth Zone, the RFOV, River Center, Mine Springs, Heydays, Garfield Clean Energy, the Chamber, the Middle Colorado Watershed, Economic Development Partnership, AGNC, and then you had some funds in there general.
Hey, Jim.
That you could use.
Jim, can you hear me?
You'll hear from a number of the groups. You've heard from some of them already, but we've got one coming in this evening. You'll have additional coming in at the next meeting. I anticipate anybody who wants to come talk to you and ask you for money, we'll get them in front of you.
Sheila has no internet, so she can't,
She can't do her thing.
yeah, she's been kicked off, and I was trying to talk to you, and you apparently weren't hearing me, so I don't know.
We were not hearing you. Let me see if
We're
I'm,
ignoring you, we promise.
this time. Yeah,
Thank you for the qualifier.
and this is not connected to the internet either.
Something.
Awesome. Just makes it for a glorious evening.
We don't have internet, but.
Sure. So otherwise you'd be seeing this on the screen, but you're not seeing it on the screen. I can try to log into the meeting, and share mine. Let me see if I can do that quickly.
If you can hear me, Sheila is back online.
Can't hear you.
Hey, she heard us, yeah, that's a good thing.
Yeah. Be nice.
TV turned up?
Yeah.
Can you hear me? I'm back.
Oh, now all of a sudden she's there. Somebody's there.
Okay. What page are we on? I'm sorry.
Can you hear Sheila talking?
No, we can't hear anybody.
Sheila, will you talk for me?
What's that, Amy?
It showed that she was talking, but there was no volume coming through.
Right, I'm trying to fiddle with the, will you talk some more, Sheila?
Testing 1, 2, 3.
Just sing happy birthday or something, I don't know.
Happy birthday. I'm not gonna sing it. I don't want people to leave. Testing.
Well,
Yeah, I mean, I hear them coming through the.
Sheila, not if you can hear us. Okay.
Yeah.
But you guys can't hear us.
No, we cannot. Oh, no, you're gonna have to actually come to the meeting.
Oh, no, wow.
Oh, no.
All right, back to wherever we were. So we'll have various groups coming in. They'll give you their pitches. Some of them are asking for more money. Probably all of them are asking for more money, and then you'll get to decide as you go through the budget process. On the administrative side, that's just the day-to-day operation of the organization. Any special initiatives that the board hands us to do, kind of run through my office. Our initiatives coming up for the next year is going to be to look at the website redesign. We're open to discussion on improved transportation services. We're also looking at the acquisition of 2 properties, the Jenkins property, which is down on Front Street, which would add downtown parking as well as help us with the Front Street realignment to accommodate the pedestrian bridge and the 7th Street Mall. And we have opened a conversation about the acquisition of the Anderson property, which would be for blight elimination, and then we would turn around and have to make a decision whether that was a piece of property that the town felt that it should maintain, hold on to, utilize for a purpose, or turn around and put it on the open market to sell to somebody. And then probably the largest thing that we're looking at working towards is operational space needs analysis. We're drafting a RFP for services of a firm that would come in and help us determine the actual space that we need for the growing community in terms of where we're headed, what we would need operational from not only the administrative perspective, but the departmental perspective. And we've now rolled in the public works in this as well to make sure that we're going to be adequately covered for public works as well. In terms of clerk treasurer, they're really, this is the administrative function of operations. The clerk she's the boss. Pretty much she's the signatory for the town on official documents, the official record keeper, and responsible for really the making sure all our documents are in order going forward. Treasurer does the accounting and payroll and accounts payable. That's, nothing works without money. And so we have to keep moving forward with that. One initiative that we are looking at for next year is we're going to be replacing our phone system. We use an old, analog system with outdated equipment that is starting to get kind of crackly. We're looking at a voice over IP system that would allow you to be in the office even when you're not in the office. It would show your phone would ring directly through your computer, so it would be a computer-based system. The good news is that it would lower our overall phone costs on an annual basis, even with the capital expenditure next year for the new phones.
We are in the process of looking at developing an audit RFP. This was the last year of our audit contract. So we're gonna look at going out for an RFP to test the waters, see what else is out there. And then another goal is to look at all our investments and see if we can be doing a better job on the investment side. Perhaps increasing some of our returns. Right now, short money is earning better than long money. So right now, the liquid investments that we have with Colo Trust and C-Safe are doing just fine. But as interest rates start to drop, we're going to want to be looking at whether we can leverage ourselves out by going out a little longer on the yield curve and not opening ourselves up to some of that risk of lowering interest rates. I mentioned this in the budget presentation on the 23rd, but we have a couple of global budgetary issues. Compensation, we've included a 3% cost of living increase. Just note that each 0.5% equates to about $15,000 of compensation. And then we also include a 2% merit increase that would be for half the year. Usually those are given out sometime in the July timeframe. We had some big hits on our benefits side. We had a 13.5% increase in our health insurance. The HR subcommittee met and is looking, and hopefully the direction was that we were going to stick status quo with our health plan, but to offset some of the costs of the increase, that we would eliminate the $600 employee wellness benefit that was first instituted in 2024. The group discussion was that the employees would rather keep the status quo of the health insurance rather than look at something different, and let's skinny up on some of the other benefits.
And what was the 600 a month?
It was the
Wellness benefit.
wellness benefit was to be used for wellness type activities. The problem is I shouldn't say problem, but it was written very liberally. And it could be used for just about anything.
Oh, okay.
And so, it was meant, I think the original intention was, hey, go out and buy yourself a set of running shoes or walking shoes or hiking shoes or some piece of equipment that's going to help you get outdoors and refresh and, stay a little bit more grounded for that work-life balance. But
Gotcha. But I mean, there's like uniform allowances.
yes, yeah, that's outside of uniform allowances.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Can we go back to COLA for a second?
yeah,
So we talked about this privately a week or two ago.
Yes.
I'm an advocate of using the state number, not the national number. So this year, the national number, I think, in terms of cost of living increase is 3.1. Nationally, Colorado as a state is 3.4.
What's causing?
Our people live here and they work here. Our cost of living increase should reflect that.
I wonder.
Nationally is 2.65.
Is it lower?
yes.
So we just got our notice for social security, 2.65 is the national average.
So this is kind of middle of the road.
If you put your,
Regardless of the index, you tell us what index you use, we can plug that index in. Question is going to be what that time frame is. Last time I checked CPI, it was CPI nationally was 3%.
Oh, okay, I will
And
put my video.
that's why I put 3% in there. If you want to use the state number, maybe the state number is higher. I can tell you, I looked at the Grand Junction number, and I know we're not Grand Junction, but they actually had a much lower.
I mean, given that we live in an area that has a relatively high cost of living, generally, it seems applicable to use a more localized state level cost of living as a baseline versus the national, which includes a lot of places that are a lot cheaper to live in than here in Colorado.
But that's something we can certainly look at as we go through the budget. Sheila kicked me out of the meeting. That wasn't very nice.
Again?
Yeah. So that, and then, the biggest hit on a single item was, well,
I
Amy,
thought Sheila was logged in twice.
Amy kicked me out of the meeting.
There you go. For the record, Amy did it.
Our biggest surprise this year was when we got our property liability renewal. It was about a 50% increase from what it was previously. And that's being reflected all across Colorado in terms of what insurance costs are going up. There were quite a few changes on the police side, but the property and liability globally went up rather dramatically, and that's due to the state's wildfire, hail damage risks that we've got. And that impacts every budget across the board. Doesn't matter whether it's the wastewater utility, community development, park and recreation. These are all things that these numbers trickle through globally to each of the various departments.
Yeah, do I dare ask what it is?
I went from about 140,000 to 210.
That's much.
That's it. I mean, it was a surprise to us that it was going up. They had warned us that it was going up. But it was a surprise that it was going up as much as it was.
And we've never had to use it, have we? Recent times.
We've used it here and there, but not significantly. We haven't had a big loss claim. But a lot of it has to do with, we get in an accident with one of our vehicles. There's a significant liability there. Not picking on the police department, but they have significant liability with every traffic stop that they do.
Oh, yeah.
And that's now
That's for any
recognized.
town.
Yeah, and it's the same for any town. CEBT, who we do our insurance through, has also changed. It used to be that they would, and Treasurer Tucker can correct me if I state this incorrectly, but they used to cover the upfront deductible if an officer was involved in something that we were getting sued over. Now we're on the hook for the first 25,000.
Oh, okay.
I just, in case I had to say anything about it.
Am I correct that CEBT used to cover the deductible for police officer actions?
Yes.
And now they've changed that so that we're responsible for the first 25,000.
Correct. And then they also changed our, we used to be able to choose whether we, a $500 or $1,000. Now it's a $5,000 deductible, no
No
matter
matter what.
no matter what, with the 50% increase.
And then, does this come out of the general fund, or does each department pay a little bit?
It is spread through the departments, but it's one bill.
Oh, okay.
Water and wastewater are set a little differently. But for the most part, we get one bill and it gets cordoned out to the various departments.
Gotcha. Okay.
Police gets a little extra because there's one part of the policy that's directly for the police department.
Yeah, of the
Yeah.
210, I think the police,
So
part of it is $76,000. Just for the police department, for their vehicles and the liability.
yeah,
All right, thank you.
sadly, it's the cost of doing business now.
Oh, yeah.
So after, I'll turn it over to Nicole, Director Centennial. And then we'll go through the departmental budgets, but so just a little foreshadowing for the next meeting. We'll go through the overall capital plan in a little bit more detail. Then we'll get into more detail of a revenue discussion. I think there's we'll look at what projected revenues are. We're gonna have some fee suggestions that the board can choose to work with one way or the other. And then it really, at that point, we're kind of handing things over to you as the board to start looking at it. One of the items that Mayor Pro Tem Hanrahan had suggested that we have to be a little careful about semantics. I had said, oh, we've got this $1 million deficit we have to try to close. Well, It's not really a deficit because we really do have funds in the bank and a lot of that has to do with capital projects that were carried over. I don't. It's still kind of deficit spending, but it's not. We're not going in the hole. We don't have to go to the bank and borrow money. But just as an example, the community park renovation project. It's a $1.2 million project. It was budgeted for $1.2 million this year. $900,000 is a grant and $300,000 is what the town has to come up. That $300,000 is coming out of fund balance, but $900,000 is coming out of a grant. So when you look at $1 million deficit, well, $300,000 that was budgeted in 2024 is now gonna be expended in 2025. So, and it's a carryover, it's not necessarily a negative, a negative expense directly coming out of fund balance. But we'll also spend a little time going over what our fund balance is, so you know what you have to work with. So with that, I'll turn it over to Director Centeno, whose stuff is sideways.
Okay, so, within our department, we have myself and then Dusty Fornes, who's our admin assistant. And then Dan Reardon, who is our contracted inspector and plans reviewer. And he's employed by Shums Coda, who is the company that we contract with. Dan is the physical inspector that comes down, and then they have multiple plans reviewers that we utilize through Shums. And then we have Mark Chain, who has been our contract planner. And he had a surgery and ended up doing less and less for the town. So he's slowly recovering, but might work on a project or button up a project or two, on his way to retirement here. And then an overview of community development is, we have administrative, we have the building department, which does permitting and inspections. We have the planning and zoning, which is the development review, and then we have recreation and special events. On the administration side, our 2024 budget was $67,725. I did clarify on here, because I know that we do have some new board members, what community development administration is responsible for. It's meeting, phone calls, emails, customer service, communications, town rentals, business licenses, management of whole department functions, and public records requests. In 2024, we've had, and this was year to date when I did this PowerPoint, but we had about 4,600 monthly engagements within social media. And then we have 3,283 followers on Facebook, and Instagram is at 154. So we're slowly starting to build up an Instagram following as well. We have 253 Text My Gov members, and we've had over 85,000 ingoing and outgoing messages throughout this year. We have 132 licensed businesses, 34 licensed vendors, and the town center had 109 rentals year to date, and then the field rentals, we are at 263.
What does the field rentals cover?
It covers all of the sports fields rentals and veterans park rentals. So any park rental is what it covers. The proposed budget for 2025 is $49,925. It's a decrease by 26%. Some of that was us just reallocating funds and compartmentalizing community development as a whole. Right now, it's broken out in the budget in different subcategories. And some of the subcategories all have the same line items that don't need to be in every single one of the subcategories. So we kind of reallocated to figure out how that best suited being fit into the budget. So it decreased the admin side of the budget. Our goals and objectives for 25 is to develop the new town website. And then integrate town rentals into Sports Connect. Which I'm still trying to figure out how to do. Sports Connect is a platform for, sports enrollment. We're trying to figure out if there's a way to incorporate the rentals into that. I was on the phone with Sports Connect today trying to figure that out. And then we want to increase communication and in English and in Spanish. That is what we're working on for the admin side. The issues and concerns that we have is we're just in a very small space. We have 2 employees currently with fingers crossed, hopefully a third coming into the office soon. And we're just slightly cramped on space to have recreation and events and building, planning and zoning in one small office. The next part of ComDev is the building department. Our current budget for 24 was $143,750. The building department is responsible for new application intake, processing applications, issuing permits, assessing permit fees, re-inspect fees and use tax, administering best tests, and processing and issuing contractors licenses, scheduling and completing inspections, tracking progress on permits, customer service with calls, emails, walk-ins, addressing properties. 24 accomplishments year to date, we've issued 261 contractors licenses. We've processed and issued and tracked all of our best tests and building permits, anything that we issue a permit or license on, we track all of it. We've had 94 best tests, we've had 180 permits issued. We've issued 14 COs and we had completed 434 inspections at the time of this PowerPoint. The 25 budget is $205,510, which includes an increase of 42, almost 43%. Again, that's because we were reallocating funds. The building inspector position had been spread out between multiple departments, including utilities. And so it made more sense, as Manager Mann had pointed out, that it would all be allocated to the building department. So that was reallocated. Our goals and objectives is to hire a building inspector, decrease the time frame for permit issuance and reviews, implement community development software. And I did do a couple examples with a couple different companies, and I think we are gonna be able to find a good software that'll help eliminate a lot of the overhead, such as data entry, and make it easier for people to do things online, including scheduling inspections. I think it'll streamline everything and make it a little faster. And then we want to revamp our best tests. And then in big goals, we want to organize archives. We definitely have to have some spare time on our hands to achieve that. But if ever we can get to that, we will start working on that. And then send resources to educate contractors, which we did do throughout this year with some of our new code adoptions and the implementation of the new energy codes. And then I talked about reallocating funds to the building department. Issues and concerns is hiring a building inspector. We've been advertising for a couple of years with very little to no interest. It is a specialty, and so we're trying to figure out exactly what that looks like. We're also trying to figure out what code enforcement looks like. And then we would like to continue to work on accurate record keeping. We have a ton of some of the archiving that I had mentioned in the slide before. We need to digitize past records and organize everything. So at some point in the future, we just have rules and rules of plans that it would be wonderful to get digitized and not have so many papers and rooms full of papers everywhere. And then the timely issuance of building permits. And then something that we'd like to address in hiring a building inspector would be to eliminate the limited inspection days and times.
What's your turnaround time for permits right now?
It depends on what it is. So small miscellaneous permits are all permitted within 2 weeks. The bigger permits, It depends on how quickly people get corrections back to us. So most of the actual building permits, they're issued within 60 days. Which when I did calling around and I talked to a lot of building departments and our neighboring towns to try to figure out what their timeline is, and we're actually in line, if not faster. That's just not what we're always told. So, but actually talking to the departments, everybody's pretty far behind right now. I mean, it takes time to get through the process, so.
Well, I was gonna say, cause it's based off, if it's based off of when a lot of people getting corrections and stuff, if somebody submitted a correct plan, turnaround time would be what? If they didn't have to do corrections and stuff.
If they didn't
did
have
their
any
part
corrections, it
correctly.
would be under 60 days.
Yeah, see.
For a full single family. And it would probably even be sooner. The majority of the wait time is getting corrections back from people.
When people complain about that, then I don't have any sympathy for them, unfortunately.
But yeah,
It's a pain. We're being told by the municipalities that even for, I mean, we're headed into winter, furnace and boiler replacement, we're looking at 4 weeks to get a permit. So we have people that, yeah, we'll fix your stuff in middle to end of November when we get a permit.
Yeah.
And these are people, customers with no heat. So if we're turning around in 2 weeks, then
but yeah,
Oh,
and,
yeah.
and we do have emergent, if something like that comes in, that somebody does not have heat or hot water, or we do a same day turnaround.
Yeah.
So we do stop what we're doing to make sure that we can accommodate that. And if it's over the weekend, we tell all of our contractors no to go on ahead and do what you need to do, and then you can apply for an emergency permit after the fact.
it's nice that Silt is working with contract.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you don't wanna be without water or
Yeah.
heat.
I just thought I'd ask, cause that was one of your issues or concerns.
It is, yeah, and it's gotten way faster, with Shums doing our reviews. Because we are contracted with them for a certain time span. They're supposed to have, their first initial review done within 10 days. Most of the time, it's the zoning review that takes longer for people to get corrections back on before it goes to building permit review.
Would a building inspector make that any faster, or is it just?
They would make it faster in the, fact of being able to actually type up permits and issue them, because right now I'm the only one doing that.
Okay, that's
So it would be something that would be their sole job, is to make sure that permits were getting out. That's just a very small portion of what I'm doing right now. So that would be their full job, is to make sure that it was happening faster.
okay.
What do we do if we continue to not be able to find that person?
So Dan is retiring in December. So we were at a slight panic, but Shums Coda did hire another building inspector. I believe he came from Eagle County. His name is Dave Larkin. And they did hire him to take on our area. And so we will still be able to contract a building inspector. We're not as up against the gun as we thought we were initially going to be. So we would still continue to do the same thing. He would come, he lives closer, so we might be able to get more than 2 days of inspections a week. Our numbers don't really support more than 2 days a week. It would be more convenient for contractors to choose whichever day they want, but the actual hours that are putting in, we have like 2 half days a week worth of inspections every week. So the actual inspection side of it, we typically don't have more than 8 to 9 hours of inspections a week. So splitting it up into more than 2 days, when everybody's already kind of conditioned to be used to that right now, I wouldn't suggest doing until we have an actual building inspector. That would be 4 days.
As we look at the building inspector side of things, we're also looking at, because we don't really have a full-time inspector's worth of work to be out inspecting, that position will be doing permits. We've had conversations that we would likely make that person responsible for code enforcement as well, to round out their time. So they would, and as they get busier, as the community gets busier, certain things will be less of a priority, and that would be code enforcement. But a lot of the code enforcement, once you go through and really do your initial, that's not a full-time job either.
And combining them is not going to make it harder to find this person?
The jury is out.
That's why we haven't been able to find somebody, because they didn't get to do code enforcement too.
Yeah. That's the key missing
Yeah,
piece.
exactly.
Line up
People are
the
gonna be
door.
knocking down the door now.
Gonna need a buffet.
Yeah. And then that leads us jumping into planning and zoning. Our 24 budget was 202,000. Let me start again, $202,150. Planning department is land use applications, public notices, resolutions, P and Z meetings, intergovernmental communications, building permit reviews, GIS mapping, research, and customer service. Accomplishments to date, we have 10 site plan reviews, 2 special use permits, 3 annexations, 2 zoning variances, 4 fence exceptions, 2 sign exceptions, 3 boundary line adjustments, 1 subdivision, P and Z meetings, and we have 4 sketch preliminary final plan PUDs. We also do census and GARCO updates to try to help them navigate their systems. They ask about permitting and how much homes are selling for and what the values are of the permit when they're being released to the developer. The 25 budget is 171,000. It includes a 15% decrease. And again, some of that is just reallocating funds or just cutting out what we didn't need, just trying to trim the fat a little bit on what's in the budget. Goals and objectives are to shorten the processing time for land use applications. We can process them as fast as we can in-house, but we have referral agencies that also need to look at them that don't work exclusively for the town. And so referral agencies are 3 to 4 months out right now, for their list of corrections or comments back. Everybody's just super busy with land use. So in our referral agencies would be the fire department, our town attorney, our town engineer. And then at different times, sometimes CDOT, sometimes Garfield County, depending on what it is and where it's located. And then we're looking to clean up sections of code, specifically 16 and 17 as part of our housing needs assessment. And then we want to create the housing, the affordable housing code policies via the housing needs assessment, and then increase community engagement, which is also something we're going to try to work on with the housing needs assessment. Concerns are, we want to change the public notice requirements. Sometimes that gets really tedious on land use applications. That'll be part of those code rewrites. And then time management is always difficult to find time to do additional trainings and continuing ed. Some of the small things, just because we are so busy. And then we have the Planning and Zoning Commission, who had a $10,700 budget this year. The Planning and Zoning Commission are appointed by the Board of Trustees. They're the decision-making body on a variety of land use and zoning applications. They're a 7-person board consisting of 5 permanent voting members and 2 alternates. They meet the first Tuesday of every month, typically at 6:30 here at Town Hall. They are the recommending body for annexations, zoning, rezoning, preliminary sketch and final plans, and special use permits.
What,
And then,
can I ask a quick question about the structure? Why are there 2 alternates? Why aren't all 7 permanent voting members, especially given some of the challenges we've had with attendance?
so when somebody's not here, the alternate gets to vote. But I think it's the way that it was written into our charter.
I believe it's a charter issue.
Yeah.
So there will come a time where you need to do some updating in the charter. There's probably a laundry list of things that you should look at.
Someday, not today.
Someday, not today.
Got it.
And then the commissioners are a final decision-making body for variance, sign exceptions, comprehensive plan amendments, and site plan reviews. Year to date, the commission has had 10 regular meetings, 3 joint meetings, and they've processed 23 land use applications. And they've done a variety of trainings. And then for 25, the proposed budget is 16,250. That's a 51% increase. That was primarily from the additional raise that the trustees gave them to attend meetings. And then their goals and objectives is to support the board and staff, to complete training opportunities, to receive regular legal updates, and to engage and educate the community.
Out of curiosity, the GIS mapping, does that include water and sewer, stuff like that, or?
It is,
Oh.
yeah. Joe and I actually have a meeting to update GIS mapping, to meet with the gentleman that does our GIS on
Okay.
Tuesday. Yeah. And then recreation, the 24 budget is $68,625. Silt Rec offers a variety of growing youth opportunities. We have in-house leagues, but we're also part of the Colorado River Valley League, which is what we utilize for basketball and what we'll utilize for volleyball in this upcoming year. That league includes Newcastle Silt, Rifle, Grand Valley, DeBac, Colbert, Meeker, and sometimes Glenwood. This year for boys basketball, we had 56 players. For micro soccer, spring soccer, we had 101. For T-ball, we had 33. For fall micro soccer, we had 74. And then for girls basketball, it's actually more than 30 now. We had to open up a 4th team. So it was 30 when I did this. We're probably sitting right around 42, 43 now.
Oh, wow.
And then the proposed budget for 25 is 77,150, which includes a 12.42 increase. And that is so that we can integrate some of our new programs. We want to continue to grow all of our existing programs. We want to integrate the girls' fall volleyball. We need to purchase the Safe Sport membership, which is a training that there's a House bill that passed that says everybody, all of our coaches or anybody involved in youth sports needs to take a training that focuses on whatever kind of abuse you can think of. There's sexual abuse, physical abuse, mental abuse, emotional abuse, and then there's hazing, bullying. That's all covered under Safe Sport. And that's just to educate our coaches so that they can better help run our programs with the integrity that we want them ran. Then we need to replace some aging equipment and purchase some new programming equipment, which will include what we need for volleyball. And then our goal this upcoming summer is to hire a seasonal employee that can help with rec and events and other community development needs. Issues or concerns within recreation is we always have officiating shortages. And that's with every sport everywhere across the nation right now. Nobody wants to get yelled at, so our referee pool is diminishing rapidly. And then we have aging equipment and increased replacement costs. And then we've struggled to also get coaches. Our programs are continuing to grow, and it's very difficult to get people to commit to coaching. So just kind of thinking of different ways that we can incentivize that as well. We currently do not charge coaches for their kids playing, so that's an incentive. And then we offer education and different apps are helping develop their practice plans so that they're not going into it so blindly or feeling uncomfortable with it. Sometimes it's just they've never coached before and they just need somebody to kind of help guide them that first season. And then we typically get repeat coaches after that, but they age out of the system too. And then special events, our 2024 budget is $68,750. Silt hosts several family-friendly events throughout the year. Most events include vendors and local businesses. And then, Silt's events create an opportunity for volunteer hours to be obtained by our local honor society, high schoolers, 4-H clubs, nonprofit organizations, as well as community members that just wish to be involved. Year to date for special events, we've had our Easter egg hunt. We did our Arbor Day tree planting. We had Silt or spring and fall cleanup. A fall cleanup started today. Yeah, so fall cleanup is currently happening right now. And then we had Silt on sale. We did 3 movies in the park. We did 4 party at the pavilions. And we are rapidly coming up on our Main Street trick or treat, and then we'll have our white Christmas tree lighting in November. With special events, oh, I went one too many here. Goals and objectives, so our 25 budget is $136,150. An increase, it includes a 98% increase. A lot of that is reallocated funds, so we had our firework funds in a completely different section of the budget, so just putting everything that's event related into the actual event budget.
So I was gonna say, I mean, as with the exception of that raise that we gave the planning and zoning committee, everything else, it seems like the budget was just written. It's being rewritten, and so everything, this is just more accurate.
We're trying to be more accurate, like, for whatever, I'm trying to remember where the fireworks were located. I think they may have been just under a board expense.
Board expense.
Cause
And
like
it's-
increase.
It was in the general fund, if you
can
hear me.
We're just moving from one location to another so that we can really reflect what our special events are costing per year.
And I think it's
Now, I will tell you that we did add money for special events,
right.
this year because we're trying to stay on top of some of those expenses, but as Director Centeno said, with the safe sports stuff, that added, you know, it's not a huge dollar amount, but what, about $5,000 to the budget just to be able to put us through that train?
It could be, yeah, it could be upwards of that. It depends on how many coaches. And once a coach takes it for the year, if they coach multiple sports, they're good for a full calendar year. So they may not.
But again,
Yeah,
it's an annual expense so that, this was a state requirement, correct?
yeah, it was a
So,
house bill that
It's
passed.
unfunded mandate by the state. Go forth and do.
I was just gonna say, it was originally fireworks were in the general fund because the first year we did it was for our 100-year anniversary. And so the general fund paid for it. We just had a line item coded to fireworks, so we just kept using it instead of moving it into the recreation. But we have changed that this year.
Yeah, you've got some upstart that's trying to make things better.
Rewrite the whole budget.
Yeah, something like that.
Who brought in the financial guy? Goals and objectives for 25 was to create, or for this upcoming year, is to create opportunities for community gatherings, increase the quality of life, support local businesses and vendors, boost tourism, stimulate the economy, and then we had talked about reallocating the fireworks funds. And then special event issues or concerns is just having enough staffing to continue to grow everything that we're offering. And there's always increased costs. And then last but not least, we're always looking for ways to incentivize vendors to come join us. So, and that definitely got better this year with moving from a designated farmers market to bring in vendors into events. So I think we can keep going down that path and continue to grow vendors attending events because we do have more of a turnout. And I believe that is all that I have, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
I have one easy question.
Okay.
What's it gonna take to get the scoreboard at the baseball field to work again?
We found the motherboard for it,
Okay.
but it doesn't work. So I think we're gonna have to redo the motherboard.
And they said some old antiquated, it's just time for a new one.
It might be time for a new one. Yeah. But that would be
I
nice
mean,
to,
Doc, I mean, the old guy that stands there and flip the numbers over. I mean,
Old school.
Yeah, go old school, yeah. So,
yeah,
I just know that the remote went missing years ago.
we did find it and when we plugged it in, it did. So,
That's next.
Okay, we'll get the old one out of Wrigley.
And my guy behind me, monster that
Yeah,
puts the numbers on and off all day.
All right, Sheila, if we can go back to PDs, I sent you an email, it should be in your inbox. But don't ask us what sit, dollar, or AMET means. We don't know, we've not led.
PD has no budget this year, perfect, next.
I know, yeah.
Well, we just solved that $1 million.
Yeah.
Folks have seen our.
No, wait, too late.
Questions. There's a disclaimer, I had nothing to do with this PowerPoint. Wow.
Wait,
That's why it looks. Are you sure?
Name's on it.
Yeah.
Name's on it. I've been on crayons and stick figures. Call for service this year, we're on track.
Excuse me, Mike, can you put the mic in there, everybody? Sorry.
Testing 1, 2. Currently, we're, as you see in the presentation up there, we're currently on track for 2,000 calls over where we were last year. Guys been out, been super productive, the additional staff, and with what I'm hearing from the public, but they've really been out, getting on traffic and trying to slow people down and that type of thing. So that the load does increase. Part of those numbers was code enforcement for a good part of the year. Go to the next one, please. Accomplishments. At the moment, we are fully staffed. Got several applications in the recruiting system. So if we need them, they're there. The block camera system is live. And that is confirmed that we've got 4 of the 5.
Yep.
That are up and operational. We're still, I was working today trying to get the reimbursement back from the state or the transfer circle of death. We've had 2 new patrol cars this year and completely outfitted. We are solid on vehicles for this year and into next year. So we shouldn't have to replace any vehicles for next year at this time. We're currently waiting for, we've implemented the e-citation, which is an electronic ticket writing system. That makes it clearer for the folks that receive them and clearer for the courts to read them and make sure that they got the accuracy. It also includes tow sheets and the rest of the paperwork that's required on the side of the road. We've also instituted the AI report writing system through Axon. And real briefly, what that system is anything that comes across into the cameras, it writes a report. It writes down what the camera hears and sees. There are safeguards in there to make sure that the officers aren't just pulling them off and turning them in. There's several, I think ours are what, 5 errors? 3 errors in there that it'll put something in there, John Smith then left, it headed south. Shortly after that, a UFO landed in the front yard. They have to go in there, correct those things and make sure they're submitted and accurate. This biggest thing with draft 1 was Garfield County had already done the study. A standard DUI report will take you anywhere from 3 to 4 hours. Paperwork, report writing, getting everything pulled together just on the paperwork side. It cuts it down to about 35 minutes. So this definitely gets the guys, and they can do this on their laptops in the cars. While sitting inside the road waiting for the tow, they can start this process. Any questions on any of that?
How many officers do you currently have?
Currently, we're at 12. As most of you know, Detective, Carrillo, tomorrow's her last day. She's headed for the DA's office as one of the DA investigators. You know, she's been a tremendous asset to the department, but this is a huge step for her and where she's going. With that being said, as part of us looking at the budget, we are not looking to fill that position at this time. We do have one current one current employee at the academy. She is due to graduate December, middle part. And I think that we can, you know, cover what we need to with the current staff that we have. So if we do permanently cut Detective Carrillo's position, we should be okay. Well, once we get everything stabilized, take a serious look at, as we discussed at the beginning of the year, of 24-hour coverage and how that would look.
All right, thank you.
Any questions? Next, recruitment. We are always talking to people. So if we do have a position come open, for whatever the reason, we've got a list of people that would be good applicants to fill those. Just covered, we got 2 new officers from the CMU, which is down in Junction. One from CMC Academy. And that's the CMU Academy is where we have the additional officers going at as we speak. They've all passed their field training program and doing quite well. Very impressed with them. They're young, they're learning, but we all are. Not young, but learning. Still, that way. These are the numbers that I've put together. I should say we put together, sorry about that. Of equipment that I wish to purchase in the next upcoming year. Helmets and heavies. Helmets are lightweight ballistic helmets. And what we call heavies are ballistic vests that'll stop rifle rounds. It's not equipment that we use every day, but you had 3 of your officers, with myself included in that, with the active shooter in Glenwood Springs here last month. And he was armed with a heavy rifle. So this type of equipment in unfortunately in today's world, it's more of a necessity than a. But as you can see, with the prices, they're extremely expensive. But on the other hand, it's not as expensive as someone getting hurt. We're looking to replace our patrol rifles. The current ones we have are approximately 15 to 16 years old. And they're starting to show wear. They're still operational. They still do the job. But it's gonna be like having a 16 or 15-year-old car. It's gonna start nickel and diming. And if something like that should jam in a situation, once again, won't be good. We're also trying to get ahead of some of the legislature coming down Currently, we're running 12 gauge, less lethal shotguns. Better known in the public as beanbags. They're looking to go away from that and go to the 40 mm launchers, which shoots pretty much the size of a racquetball. For a less lethal option. We have replaced our the body cams this year and tasers in the evidence program, and that was, the payment for this year was $57,330. It was, from those equipment that we had were coming, that Axon no longer covered under warranty, so if a taser should malfunction or body cam didn't record, they weren't going to cover it because it was out of warranty. Those items there are replaced approximately every 5 to 6 years. We haven't done it, but we've been in discussion of in-vehicle dash cams. 33,604 for additional documentation, calls. It's more than, because really, when you're sitting in your vehicle, dash cams set here, you got great view of the steering wheel and speedometer. Until you actually get out of the vehicle, you have nothing going on up front.
So the vehicles that were recently purchased, did they include dash cam?
No, ma'am,
Did not include dash cam, even the new ones.
we don't have any dash cams in our vehicles at this time.
And so you were saying when you are in the car with the body cam, you can't. see it.
Yeah, it's a body cam, yeah,
Right.
the body cam is just gonna record the steering wheel, so if you're in a pursuit. You're just seeing the
Yeah.
officer steering and you're not seeing what the suspect's doing, nothing that's going on. Any violations that the suspect is, making, running stop signs.
Can't you guys just set it up on the dash for while you're driving? No, I'm kidding, sorry, that's a joke.
So and that's why it's that.
GoPro.
That's body cam start recording a lot of incidents.
Right, well, and I mean, that can protect everybody, really.
Exactly.
And the police officer, so. And I mean, the AI report writing software, I mean, from an attorney perspective, I think there's some defense attorneys who might have a field day with that, but that's, I mean, you guys aren't the only ones utilizing that kind of software.
And they have, like I said, the only two agencies up here at this time is Garfield County Sheriff's Office, and they've been running it for a while,
Okay,
and Silt PD.
Okay.
Other agencies are starting to look into it because of the time savings. And as I discussed before, that they just don't read the report on the here. They have to go in, they have to read it, and some names you have to go in there and type in yourself
yeah,
because it just doesn't recognize them.
well, and but versus camera footage, everybody. I mean, a person can see themselves and say, well, okay, that's me, great, versus if AI wrote it, so anyways, but I don't wanna get down that rabbit hole or anything, but I was curious about if these vehicles come with dash cams.
No, ma'am. We buy the vehicles as standard vehicles. And then they're equipped,
I see,
with lights, sirens, cages, cop stuff.
okay,
And then the rest of, such as the e-citation, and when we do it, the dash cams will be installed by a different vendor.
right,
Where's the dash cam and the body cam footage stored? Software here or cloud, or who has? and who
That's
all
the
has access-
evidence.com, and that's through Axon.
Who has access to that, and just this police department, or can anybody get there?
No, for the public to have access to it, they have to put in a request.
How long do they keep that footage?
It's permanent. Is it? Oh, I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just gonna, and you're only requesting 3 cameras, right? Or dash cams, I should say.
One for each split.
No, this is the Fleet 3,
That's the name of
the
it.
name of it.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay, all right. I
So this would
misunderstood. So
equip-
you want dash cams for all
Correct.
12, right?
Yeah, all
Okay,
vehicles.
okay.
Yep. And that's what the yearly cost would be.
Okay, so 33 for all
Yeah.
the vehicles. Okay, correct.
So per year for all 12.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, thanks for the
It's a
clarification.
subscription, right? You,
It
they give
is.
you the hardware and then you pay that as a fixed cost. to-
Correct. It works exactly like, because it's through Axon, it works exactly like the body cam, taser, and evidence.com.
So they replace the cameras. You're paying for the services attached to the cameras.
Yeah, it's the software and also the hardware.
But they warranty the hardware, so that we don't incur some expense if police cars crash, et cetera, that's baked into the contract with them.
Correct.
Okay. I had also brought up the idea last week, as it related to the rifle cost. They have an end of life, they have a lifespan. So why not bake that into our budget? Instead of buying, I don't remember the number of total rifles that we need currently, but much like vehicles and a lot of the other things that we are operational in nature. Why not just allocate to replace 1 or 2 a year, every year, and just use it as a recurring cost in budget versus waiting too long and then having to incur a significant cost. We can't, unfortunately, we can't do that right now. But I'm thinking like ahead to future budgets, should we start rolling in these end of life programming into our budgets?
Difficulty with some of that is that you want every vehicle to have the exact same equipment. So that one officer can jump in any vehicle at any time and the equipment is turnkey. If you're replacing rifles on an ongoing basis, they're gonna be different as each model comes out. Same thing is gonna be with some of this other equipment. So there's a danger to doing that. And it becomes an operational issue. That you're trying to keep everybody trained up on exactly the same piece of equipment.
Well, I think,
He's talking about fund allocation,
yeah,
just
But-
creating a line item,
Right.
capital
But
budget.
some of those capital line items, you're gonna see it every year. Like if you go back to that slide, that 33,600 is an annual expense that we're gonna.
Mhm. But then when we have to incur the expense, then we have some funds assigned for it. That's kind of like what I'm understanding.
Exactly.
Program here.
That instead of it coming up
And-
16
and
years
savings
later,
account,
we have a
but-
way. To say every year we've got to set aside X because we know in 3 years, our fleet of X equipment, whether it's firearms or another tool.
If we were to do that, that would be like a depreciation line item.
There you go, sorry, I misspoke.
Again, it's part of strategic planning is strategizing how we're gonna pay for it.
Yes. Depreciation, sorry. Mhm. But yeah. That is kind of a good idea.
2025 goals, replacing outdated equipment is a priority. Grants are starting to dry up. I'm seeing less and less each year for equipment, especially police equipment. A lot of them might be reallocated elsewhere. But we are currently working on grants and getting some outside funding to help offset some of the cost of this, of the equipment. Tool safety, effectiveness to perform their duties. I think our officers here are some of the best well-trained in the area. They're constantly in trainings, trying to stay ahead of all the legislation that comes in on a weekly basis anymore. It seems like they spend more time on training than they do on the road. Continue with our community relations. Try to get out with cars and talk and meet and greet as much as we can. Attend school functions. I was up there earlier for parent teacher night. And attending events. As Nicole showed that, as I jumped into the suds with the rest of them. It was a good time. And continue with our mission for the town. We are writing at the stat show, and I think you guys got my end of month report of tickets. And to slow people down and give them stop signs. Get them to pay attention a little bit. We're trying, it just doesn't seem like anybody cares anymore. We've gone through each box of tickets, runs about 500 tickets per box. And I think
We're on our third box.
we're on our third box in the last couple months. Our docket's been full. But these guys are doing a hell of a job, and we've always prided ourselves having the best equipment through grants and that type of thing, and we wish to continue. Like I said, grant stuff's starting to dry up a little bit. And maybe after the first year, they'll start opening up some more, but I'm not seeing that at this time. Any questions?
Thank you.
All right, Joe, it's all yours, all yours.
Pretty easy.
You got 5 minutes.
20-minute program.
5 minutes. He's got 5 minutes to do about 30 minutes worth of programming.
Your public works utilities department, your public works has 8 full-time employees, 2 seasonals. And right now we are 1 person down, one of our full-time employees. Your utilities department has 5 full-time employees. And the year in review, the things we've done, I'm gonna ask Sarah and Casey to come up and talk about their water wastewater plants, what they've done this year, what they would like to do next year.
You gotta go sit on the hot seat.
Sarah and Casey are the overseers of the water wastewater plant.
And Casey's wastewater and Sarah's water, correct?
Correct. I'm sorry.
Okay. So year in review, obviously we started the water treatment plant construction. We had a few projects happen, including one important one was getting the Sunrise Water Storage Tank number 2 rehabilitated, which essentially has given us 117,000 gallons of potable water storage, more than we had before. So that's helping a little bit, especially since I just looked at the numbers from June through September. If you take 2023 and compare it to this year's 2024, June through September, we've used about 5.7 million gallons more. Or produced 5.7 gallons more. As far as next year, continuing the water treatment plant construction phase 1, which is the infrastructure, the building of the plant, and then going on into phase 2, which should be all the improvements inside of it to make it actually function, all the pumps, computer programs, wiring, Ethernet, all of that, and then learning how to run it. Also ice picking, we hope to do next year in the distribution system to get rid of iron and manganese that already exists there. Since we'll be sending out better water, we want to clean up the lines. And then we have some sections of ductile iron pipe that we want to replace with C900. I think up along 7th Street mainly. And that would also help in the quality of our water through the distribution system.
I have a question about the water usage increase. Do you have a percentage
I
from
don't,
last year? It would just, it would just help me to. Cause you know what I mean?
Yeah.
However much we used last year versus, and the percentage increase. But that's
so
okay.
for the Division 5 water, we have to put in an annual usage and that ends October 30th. So when that happens,
Okay.
then I'll be doing the yearly.
Cool. I was just curious anyways,
Yeah,
just to give me a mental picture.
I'm curious too, because it felt like I was making more water, so I just took a glance at our busier months and we have been making more water.
Well, and we're growing so many different ways, you know, whether it's police phone calls or whatever.
And as that increases, the population, the service lines increase. I think I've told you guys this before, but remember that the amount of testing and things that the state wants for us also increases, so that also takes more money from the budget.
Thanks, Sarah. I don't have anything.
Nothing on that one, yeah.
As far as the wastewater plant goes, since last year, we got the new controls installed. We've done some new airlines and we've got more control happening all the time. We also got monies for the fan press, which is waiting to be installed. We have to have some electrical things changed over, some boards moved. And then we're in the process of bringing down one of our digesters, so emptying it completely out, doing routine maintenance that had never happened.
If you find a pipe wrench at the bottom, I dropped that years ago.
So routine maintenance, that's never happened.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the
Okay, I
basins
just wanted to
are,
make sure I didn't.
the basins were built in 24 or in 04, 05, and they have never been drained, cleaned and inspected since then,
And how often should that be happening?
about every 10 years.
So we're only off,
Only double.
yeah,
So we're starting with one of the smaller basins, we're bringing it down. We're gonna do some equipment changeover that's in the bottom of the basins. And then after that one's emptied, then we start transferring into that one from the other ones. So it's just a rotating thing that's gonna go on through next year. The thing that isn't on here, that we did get monies for as well, is new VFDs for our blowers. Our blowers were on a static number, so they were just going all the time. With the new VFDs, they will modulate with what is needed. So we're hoping to improve our power costs through that. So the upfront cost was on last year's budget, I think. And then hopefully by 25, we'll start to see a big difference as well as better controls. What I hope to continue to do through next year is with the basin maintenance, evaluating what our basins actually look like, because we have no idea what the concrete looks like under the poo. And planning for not Reg 85, it says Reg 85 up there. Reg 85 is the interim regulation. It's gonna be going to Reg 31 in 2027. Yeah.
I'll take the blame.
But it's in a decrease in the amount of nutrients that we're allowed to push out of the plant. So stricter regulations means more equipment, better equipment, and possibly more basins. So evaluations need to be done. Last thing up there is lift stations, or the lift station. I think that's still under review.
Still under review. We don't know whose responsibility it is for updating their lift station that is at capacity and constantly in an alarm state. So that's something we're working on, but I put a question mark there because I want it to be on your radar.
The lift station likes to alarm out at minimum twice a week. And for high flow.
It's usually on Saturdays and Sundays.
So
Typically Saturdays and Sundays.
Yeah.
And I will say that the basin maintenance, a lot of that not getting done had to do with a lack of staff to be able to do all the other things that we have to do.
Yeah.
You know, if your staff's so thin that you can just do the bare minimum that you need to do to keep the plant running and do the tests that you need to do, that's what you're gonna do. We now finally are
have a little wiggle room.
staffed to a point where we can say, yeah, let's go ahead and do this.
Well, good, I'm glad for one, that there's time and staffing to get that done, because yeah, it's obviously long overdue.
Any questions?
Which list?
The KOA lift station.
Okay.
Yep.
Which makes sense with all the new tiny homes, it's, yeah. And. No, just a quick question, so when they approved all those tiny homes, was that was never a consideration, was that?
That was supposed to be upsized before the tiny homes were built. That's where the problem is.
Okay, gotcha, okay. Now I see. I don't have that one question.
Thank you both for all you're doing over there.
Thank you.
Well, everybody in town keeps us in business.
Yeah. Send it to you.
Keep demanding it,
I don't want it back away. Send it on down the road.
Oh, one thing with Sarah's increase in the production of water, that is reflects at the wastewater plant.
At
So,
least we hope it does, otherwise we get problems.
Right.
yes, but her increase to the wastewater plant increase, over the last few months, I ride anywhere from, actually the last year I've been going right about 33% of my hydraulic capacity. Last year, we were running at about 29% of my hydraulic capacity. And our plant is rated for 0.75 million gallons per day. So. Some math.
So, I guess I do have a question. So if you clean out everything at the bottom of the basins, should you, in theory, have more capacity?
Biological capacity, yes. Hydraulic capacity is not.
Okay,
Hydraulics don't really ever change. If you put 1 million gallons into a tank, there's always gonna be 1 million gallons, whether there's 10,000 milligrams per liter of mixed liquor, or there's 5,000 milligrams of mixed liquor. That's always gonna be 1 million gallons of hydraulic capacity.
gotcha, thank you.
Mhm. Cool, I'm gonna get out of the hot seat now.
All right. I don't know how quickly Joe can go through his. If you want to take a 5-minute break, we can punt Joe to the next work session and just pick it up
He's
at that point.
gonna be with us anyway.
They'll be with you anyway.
Yeah, we plan to do that.
We'll let you punt.
Won't make you speak that quickly.
Yeah, I'd rather be thorough than rush, so.
Yeah.
Okay. Like 5 minutes then.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Need what?
He's tearing it apart.
Oh, no, that's the screw is loose. We tried to put one in. It's an imperfect world, but we fall out all the time.
We look really nice. I've always admired these best guys.
You guys don't know that, it's right out of a movie. It's an imperfect world, sir. Screws fall out all the time. Wow.
I guess I didn't see that movie.
I can,
You
yeah.
all saw them.
I could have watched that movie last night and not know that.
I'm usually really.
I did not.
It's the
finish
Breakfast
movie
Club.
at all.
I can't believe I didn't get that.
Big breakfast club references.
Yeah, I just did it. I just did it. Just because.
You didn't see it in the start.
It's been a long enough.
Well,
You had a correct building for it.
I mean,
It's supposed to be a theater class.
Hello.
how are you?
Good.
So Dan, you saw my email?
Well, I saw that other report, that's why I was asking, 'cause it said that was last year's.
Yeah, I guess you better plan on $1,000.
Yeah.
So that's a lot.
No problem, just wanted to verify.
Yeah.
I'm the operations manager for Bishop One. So try
So,
to keep 15 guys.
I figured it was 1,000 participants,
Yeah.
parents, children.
Plus the other guy like to see all the time.
Cold.
We had people running and trying to buy candy not long ago. and-
Okay, well, that's why I asked.
I got a whole lot of.
So it was like, oh, Costco's got one stuff. I was like, all right, Costco.
Yeah.
Uh,
As Nicole said, you know,
Yeah.
kids love a dumbbell.
Yeah, it's just up this time in February, is our busiest time of year, but we've been busy since 2020.
Sheila, do you want me to just play a song?
That would probably be easiest.
Little changes.
This and that, and he said, maybe he'll send you.
What song should we play?
Kind of a weird conversation,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it was kind of
Which is.
wondered about.
Like,
We're sitting there,
there's one guy now, he's not.
Yeah.
And then-
because Rich says, well, where you at on it? He says, she's kind of late to do contact. This is the only thing he says, I don't know where they're at. I don't-
Yeah.
They just turned,
Same guy that-
yesterday, well, I mean, they weren't here, but they
we were
turned.
trying to figure out the-
I think he's trying to, the thing what he was trying to do is fill Rich out before
So
he
it's like we're supposed to.
kind of went forward to see him.
Booming though.
Trying to still buy that front.
There's like.
And Rich, that's what it's. I'll show you this back.
I get one question.
Yeah.
See, and then I think, because then if he bought that front.
We figured after.
That would change everything.
You want me to go?
That he would have, he'd have control of all of it. And that would change. to me, thing. And,
Think you're going the wrong way.
easement and all of that is all changed. The driveway, all of that, so I think that's what he was just trying to do, was just trying to feel Rich out.
We can fix that. We can fix it.
And see.
That makes
kinda-
sense.
Yeah, most of them, the federal school is funny. It's interesting.
Yeah, they better get going here. for the-
It's gotta be something that.
You good.
Oh, there you go.
So I can hear it here. Yeah, so Sheila doesn't have to try to. Uh-oh.
Uh-oh, what?
It's off.
Oh, that's because I was wiggling. Wondered.
How are you?
Good. Anything?
But you can hear us fine.
Yeah. Wow, clear. And maybe that's funny. Yeah, we can hear you.
We'll try.
Just paint my numbers.
I'm sure the Star Spangled Banner has something funny.
Yes, it has. I don't know what to do, Sheila. Do you think we should just go in there?
I'm just gonna roll call and come back.
Okay. Yeah, no, I don't have to.
You can't see, you can't ask questions about it.
I am right now.
This has gotta be intentional, come on.
I
now.
didn't
This is
want
like
to.
a true flush.
Good Lord, oh, they can do it, oh, yeah, increase the font size.
I like it.
Like it is the right part of my life.
Don't laugh.
Yeah.
So I was gonna do a roll call. Here, whenever you're ready.
Well, we're ready. We're ready. We're ready? Good. The time is 7:01 PM and I will call this meeting to order. May we have roll call, please?
Mayor Rigel,
Here.
Pro Tem Henderhan,
Here.
Trustee Bretnell,
Here.
Trustee Klassen,
Here.
Trustee Engelhardt. Here. Trustee Poston. Here. Trustee Seaver.
Here. All right, may we rise for the pledge of allegiance and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, be seated. First item tonight's agenda is public comments. Persons desiring to make a public comment on items not on the agenda shall activate the raised hand function in the meeting program. We'll see if this is gonna work. Or Sheila, do we have any phone calls or emails in regards to non-agenda items? We do not, okay. And any raised hands? We do not. Okay. Do we have anybody sign in?
We did not. We have a blank piece of paper, sir.
Okay, all right. Then we will move on to the consent agenda, which contains the minutes of the September 23rd, 2024 Board of Trustees meeting and resolution number 34, series 2024, a resolution of the Board of Trustees approving an agreement for professional services with Wright Water Engineers for water right analysis for the town of Silt, Colorado. Would anyone like to discuss any of those separately or make a motion?
I had a quick question.
Sure.
So the on-site ponds aren't lined to, and they intercept groundwater, therefore they're technically pond wells. So the idea is to convert them to pond wells, or is there a thought of lining these ponds
No.
or?
It would be a clarification of what they actually are, which would be a
Okay,
pond
okay,
well.
gotcha. Okay,
And to make sure that the water decree specifically reflected as such.
okay, all right, thank you.
Okay, any other discussion or motions?
Mr. Mayor, make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second,
Motion by trustee Seaver to approve the consent agenda as presented, seconded by trustee Poston. All those in favor?
aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Do any board members have any conflicts of interest with agenda items tonight? No.
None here.
I have none either. How about any agenda changes by the board or by staff? No, sir, staff.
None here.
Board, okay. Then we'll move on to the water plant construction update with Dan. Jump on up in the hot seat. Give us some good news.
Thank you. Dan Galvin with Garney Construction. Update for this month. Health and safety, continue to have no safety incidents on site to date. Plant staff and visitors, continue to wear proper PPE, upon site, which is much appreciated. We continue with our controlled entry. Again, no issues there. Something that's talked about regularly, with construction and plant staff as well. And then, now we've changed a little bit to, as opposed to hot weather, we're just monitoring changing weather conditions. Making sure construction staff and visitors and such are dressed properly for cold mornings and warm afternoons. Construction progress, so we have some of the photos up and there. Since our last meeting, we've continued with foundation concrete work, which is including formwork, rebar, and placing of that concrete. As well, we moved into our underslab buried pipe, and that's that steel pipe that we see in the pictures, which has been welded together. So a little bit of process there of putting that together and then getting the proper inspections, getting that encased in the concrete, and then continue with our backfill operations. And then we've, as of late, done some additional site civil improvements, kind of to help with laydown for our construction activities and improved access and site mobility for plant staff. As well, we continue with our site electrical, so some duct banks between the new building and the existing building. As well, this week, we'll have some electrical vaults delivered to the site, and then we've had improvement on our generator delivery date, so we're doing some work to get our concrete pad in that the generator is gonna be sitting on. As far as schedule, so we continue to hold our CPM schedule. And that is, last month, we talked about some improvements on equipment procurement, and we continue again with that generator and some other items, continue to see some of that.
So we're, still like where we're, our finish date on our schedule there, and always looking for areas or ways to improve that as well. Budget items, so the contingency log, although small font is in front of you there, with some updates that we talked about, reflecting some updates we talked about last month. So our updates do continue, a couple additional minor contracts that we've, executed for some interior items, and each of those essentially show some small wins. And then other items we've been talking about as of late is, an intake screen out there in the river. Something that the Dewberry and Garney continues to research to get plans in place, and so we can put a price on that. But that is a desirable item for plant staff, that essentially that contingency would look to pay for. And then to date, 5.1 million build, for construction in place. And with that, be glad to take questions.
I'll just point out again, that with the new generator that's coming, we are working with everyone involved to try to get that hooked up as soon as possible, because the water plant does not have a secondary source of power. So if power goes out, we don't have an operational plant, we have to rely on the storage. So we're gonna try to get that hooked up from an emergency perspective as soon as possible.
Makes sense, I would use it if possible. If needed, if it's sitting there.
Be nice.
What's the cost of the additional item that's the desirable item from the staff? What is the cost on that?
Oh, the
Probably
intake screen.
Intake screen. That's
Only been floating numbers. We haven't looked at civil side, but it's in the neighborhood of $250,000.
What's the functionality of it? Like, why do they desire to have it? Like you mentioned, coming out of the contingency fund?
So there, when we first started the project, one item stands out particularly, that the plant had an issue with their strainer that is in the building. And so after it comes through the water comes through the river, comes through these pumps, down the pipeline, and into the strainer, they find sticks, debris, crawdads, and there was a 12-inch trout that made it all that way. A full trout, you could, take it home and dinner out of it. So this strainer would prevent those items from coming into there, and then it has a self-cleaning function. So therefore it is a low maintenance item as well, and it would sit out there in the river.
So you have the river intake.
Yeah,
You could help with
So-
the debris.
Yes.
yeah, very much so.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Just picture it like a colander on the end of the intake line.
Yep.
And it's screen.
Yeah, there's a bar screen out there now, but if you were to go look at it now, the sticks that float above it, this has like a 2 or 2.5 inch separation between them, so it only stops the largest of debris from coming through. And then this new screen would be submerged, right, with a much smaller separation. Yeah. So it would improve the longevity of the items inside the plant as well, to prevent those large items from coming through.
You guys aren't trying to pour any or place any asphalt for the asphalt plants closed this year.
There is no asphalt in the current design.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Any other questions?
I don't have anything.
Okay. I don't either. Looking good now that we have, you can see progress now.
Yes.
The one picture that shows all the stack of conduit.
Yeah.
Outside the foundation, that's the part of this project that you don't visualize when they say build a water treatment plant, but the amount of power cables that.
Right, there's a lot,
the
yeah.
Plant's gonna take to operate it.
I think I know, because we had to do a count, because they wanted to put it in the slab and it wasn't all gonna fit. So I think we're in the neighborhood of like 60 conduits right running under that slab, yeah.
So, yeah. Good. All right. Staff have anything to throw in?
Not at this point.
Okay.
I guess the one other, it was probably mentioned, but we had the Colorado Water Board visit the site. That was a good success. Joe's team did a good presentation for them over there.
Really.
Yeah. And they were pleased with what they were able to see, and then the story that plant staff was able to tell them as far as how well we're using the funds that have been received.
That's
It's great.
All right, thank you to everybody for that. All right, thank you, Dan.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Next up, we have the River Center request for 2025 funding with Gina Long.
Good evening.
Presentation of this, so.
Yeah.
And anyway, my name is Gina Reese Long, longtime resident of Silt, by the way, from 2003 to 2020, but then I moved to Babbitt. Now I'm in Riverside. But the River Center, I don't know how many people here even know about the River Center. We have been a nonprofit since 2010, so 14 years now. I just handed you guys a brochure that you can look at whenever you'd like, but our, I don't know if you got to know Lee Price or not, but that's who started the River Center. He's a very good friend of mine, and I think that's why they maybe chose me to become the new executive director just in May, because I have had a long-standing relationship with the River Center since we remodeled it in about 2008 from Grand Valley First Baptist Church to what it is today, the River Center. So our mission, our slogan has always been neighbors helping neighbors. And we try to meet, we search out the unmet needs of the communities of Newcastle and Silt only. So those are the two communities that we work in. And our number one outreach program, we have multiple outreach programs, as you can see in the brochure. But the one that's been the longest standing is the Life Assistance Outreach Program. And that goes to helping someone with a hand up one time in a 12-month period. Nobody really knows what our limit is, but it's $1,200. So, but somebody can come to us for 200, somebody can come to us for the full 1,200. And what we look at is first and foremost that they are residents of Silt and or Newcastle. We do not give money out unless they are residents in one of those two towns. Rifle and Parachute have the organization called The Rock, reach out in Colorado, and they tried to mimic what the River Center did. And they got as far as a couple of our programs, Life Assistance and Toads of Hope. So that's what the Rock does. So besides our Life Assistance program, which we have a committee of about 10 people that decide on whether or not somebody is a viable client candidate for that funding. We, like I said, our top three are residency and in one of those two towns. So, and then the other one is sustainability. So we do not just give money out. We give money out based on the fact that this person can remain sustainable and remain a part of this community. And if they can't, we try to wrap around them other services. So we are also, we give out other resources where we can to help them to become sustainable or whatever it takes for them to do that. So, okay, so I gave you our mission statement, vision, our slogan and things like that. And I just wanted to kind of tell you a couple of stories that have just happened. In the last week, a resident, and I particularly got these two stories because they were residents of Silt. There was a gentleman who came in. He has stage 4 cancer. He's a veteran. He's a senior. He's on a fixed income. He's a resident of Silt. And his water heater broke. Well, about 3 weeks ago now. And so a gentleman, Bianco Plumbing, Joe Bianco, goes to our church. And he was helping this gentleman and said, he needs a water heater. He doesn't have any money to get one. And I said, well, he's a perfect candidate for the River Center. So he came down. He had, my staff wrote this for me, but he also, battling stomach cancer.
and recently had his bladder removed. So I asked if he could drive down there because we will go visit people if need be. But he could drive down there, and so he filled out our application. We do have an application and we require bank statements, we require paycheck stubs, whatever they can give us to verify what they're telling us. So if it's an Excel energy bill, we require that, and they give us, permission to talk and stuff. So anyway, he came down, but this gentleman had been out of hot water for already 10 days. And so we have a turnaround really quick, maybe 3 to 5 days. We have a committee. And if it's not, we only meet once a month, but we do it by email. And the committee is really good about, turning that around, because we know that when people come to us, they're in pretty dire need. And so we do help with rent, utilities. We just helped fix a vehicle. And again, that vehicle is helping to get them to and from their job where they make money to, pay their rent and stay sustainable. And so anyway, we got his hot water heater, bought and fixed for him. So, and he's a resident of Silt. And so, the other one was just about a little girl who, goes to school here, and she was in severe pain and needed $6,000 worth of dental work. And again, I told you our limit, $1,200. So we, first of all, we called the dental office and got that bill down to $3,800 because they know the River Center and they know what we've done in the past 14 years. So we got that bill drastically reduced. And then we also, again, wrap services around these people where we can take care of the whole bill. So Catholic Charities or Salvation Army, Valley Settlement. We also are the fiscal agent and take care of the money for Rocky Mountain Health Funds. So we have the ability for medical reasons to also spend that money in Garfield County, Pitkin County, and Eagle County. That's the only time that we can go outside of Newcastle and Silt, is if we spend Rocky Mountain Health Foundation funds. So we do have the ability to do that. So anyway, she got her teeth all fixed and ran into, it's only myself and 2 other staff members. So we really run on volunteers. We wouldn't get half of these projects done or even think about doing them with really 2.5 staff. Myself and Liz work 32 hours a week and Carol works 20. So it's not, we're not even like actually full time really. So we get all that done through our volunteers, and that's the way that the River Center started, through volunteerism. And so we just have a heart for people to help them with that. And then I just wanted to share, a little bit of numbers with you as far as the programs that we have, and just let you know that I compared the numbers to Newcastle, and we are helping 48% in Silt with our life assistance compared to 52% in Newcastle. So it's about equal. And though, thus far in 2024, we've helped, in the life assistance only with, over $13,000 in that life assistance. We get our funding through grants, individual donations, and corporate donations. And that's how we run. Our yearly budget is only $315-ish thousand. So we're small, but we make a large impact on the communities of Newcastle and Silt, and try to keep our residents here, like I said, sustainable, keep them healthy, going to work. The other main programs that we do are Totes of Hope and Meal Monkey, which are food programs for children. And so we supply those meals to kids here in Silt as well as Newcastle. The Totes of Hope go home with the kids from school, so they have meals over the weekend. And then Meal Monkey, we come to 4 different locations, 2 in Silt, 2 in Newcastle, and we deliver those lunches on Fridays when the kids aren't in school. They know where to go, which is the Silt Library and over at Heron's Nest here in Silt. So they know what time we're there, they know when to pick up their lunches. And so they have a nice lunch, a nutritious lunch on Fridays as well, because a lot of parents are still at work on Fridays. And so Angel Tree Program. We served 135 kids last year. That's a combination again. Again, I don't wanna go over this and over this, but we only help the residents of Newcastle and Silt, period. So we do a senior luncheon program, community garden program, our Angel Tree, like I said. And, just wanted to let you know, I looked up, this is just FYI. We had already done this, for the last 5 years, just so I could see who had donated to the River Center and so forth. So we have a list of all of our donors over the past 5 years. And in 2020, which I'm gonna assume this is probably COVID funds, because I know that we got a large sum from the town of Newcastle as well. But we got $35,000 from the town of Silt in 2020, just so you know. But we have not received anything. I'm not sure about prior, I only looked at the last 5 years. But in the last 5 years, that's what we've received, $35,000 from the town of Silt. And I just wanted you guys to know also that, like I said, we're about even in our outreach programs and who we help resident wise of Newcastle and Silt. And so I'm not even sure if you guys have a grant process that you do or fill out or anything like that. Okay, so in Newcastle, there used to be a grant process that we would have to fill out. And so 2 years ago, the town of Newcastle decided to put us on their budget and actually have a budget line item for the River Center because they could see how important we were to the community. And, you know, just knowing that if somebody walked in your door and said, I need help, that you would know where to send them to. You know, so it's kind of just a, you know, puts them at ease. We have a really great relationship with even the police department, and I'd love to build that here too in Silt. On our life assistance board is a member of the town of Newcastle, you know, and she's on the board that helps make the decisions and who we give money to and why. So I would love to see that relationship in Silt build as well. Just because we're located in Newcastle, I could tell you that whole story too of why we're there. It's because we bought that building for $1 from the Southern Baptist Association a long time ago in 2005. And that's why that building is there. The River Center, our board did purchase that building from the River Churches Network 2 years ago in June. So we do have our own building. It was a really great price. They gave us a great price on that. So we are very sustainable. We have good people, grants that come in, and we'd like to, you know, we'd like to grow that. And as you know, the economy is not getting better. And so our $1,200 limit that we have, we're going to discuss that this month in our strategic planning, because $1,200, we just helped a single mom with her rent. She got a brand new baby in Silt and her rent is $1,900. So $1,200 doesn't even cover that anymore. So we're going to talk about raising that limit as well for people so that we can give a little bit more in the future. But anyway, the town of Newcastle, we are a line item in their budget. And this year they gave us $18,000, which of our total income is 6.27% of our total income. And then Dave let me know that out of about 14 other nonprofit organizations, they split $18,000 to give to certain other organizations. So I think that just shows you how much they believe in the River Center and the programs that we have and what we do. Yeah, I think that I didn't want to bore you with too much information, but is everybody gonna kind of just about what we do?
So let me just chime in here.
Mhm.
In 2022 or 23, the board did budget $2,000 that was not expended. And there's $2,000 included in this year's budget for River Center as well.
Okay.
So somewhere along the line, we didn't communicate very well.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, thank you.
So I just, from what I'm hearing, a very little percent of this is for admin, most of the percentage is for goes out to donations, then, right?
I have
I don't need an exact amount, I mean, I was just, it
Yeah.
doesn't sound like you have much admin fees, most of it goes back out.
yes, I mean, obviously we do, we have 3 employees that we pay. But yes, everything that we get, we don't try to, have this large savings account or anything, it goes right back out. And, we do have certain funds that are restricted and they have to be used for, like life assistance and things like that. So those come from just different grant agencies and so forth, so, but, we try overall, I try when I write grants to get general operating, grants so that it can go for anything that we choose on the list, but we do have certain grants that only are for Mill Monkey and Toads of Hope and so forth. So.
I volunteered in the past long time ago, just packing groceries. And just recently, my daughter volunteered for the senior lunch as well with one of her friends.
Yeah.
And I've also seen them in the street for New Monkey, so they're very active and like she said, volunteer based.
Yes, very much so. And even though I just started in May, it's part of my goal. I love what Lee and Heather, the executive director that just retired, what they did over the year and grew that budget so we can help more people. But a lot of people still don't know what the River Center does and who we are. So it's part of my goal to get out there into the community. I know we came to the Silt, trick or treat last year. We'll be here again on the 31st, but just getting more involved in what Silt has to offer too. Like I said, I would love for, one of you or a police officer or somebody here at town hall to be part of whatever committee or whatever they wanted to do, but even the police in Newcastle, they know that if they run into somebody, that we're there and they can refer us. Even though this is not in our guidelines necessarily that we would pay a tow bill, the police know, and we have a relationship with them. So they had a lady that was 70+ years old and they didn't want her to incur more fees. So they had her car towed to their police lot. And then they called us and asked us if we would pay that tow bill, and we did for them. So, we try to build that relationship so they know who we are, what we're about. If they need, to send somebody over to us, that we'll take care of them.
Do you ever give people who receive life assistance, do they have an opportunity to pay you back? So one of the examples you gave was someone who their car broke and it cost, let's say, $1,000 to fix it. Is part of that arrangement, if they have the means, that even if it's $10 a month, that there's some sort of a model such that the fund is getting replenished for the next need?
Sure. We have a similar model, but not with money. Our model that we started out with is that neighbors helping neighbors. So it's supposed to go in a circle. And basically, if you get helped, then you're supposed to volunteer and help the next person. And it's just supposed to go like that. So it's not a monetary give back, but it's a voluntary.
That was actually that was gonna be my follow-up question.
Yeah.
If they can't do it economically, is there another way that they can provide a value add? So
Yeah.
you're already there.
Yeah, and for the most part, the large groups of people that we help are in Karen's Nest and Apple Tree. And so asking them to give monetarily is probably not an option. So we do ask them if they would like to volunteer with us and give back in that manner.
Good.
Yeah,
Oh, I got it, thank you.
okay.
Well, as you know, we're in the middle of our budget, so
Yeah.
these guys will get an opportunity to figure out what they're gonna do.
Well, I thank you guys for letting me come in front of you and speaking about the River Center, and would love to invite any one of you any day. Come down and see what we do and volunteer or get on a board or a committee. Would love to have you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Alrighty, bye-bye.
We'll put you on the hot seat.
Yeah. Next item on the agenda is the flock camera update.
And this over to Lieutenant Grombeck. This has been his project. And he can answer more questions than I can if you have any.
Good evening. So I just wanted to give an update on the flock camera system. We currently have 4 cameras that are installed. We're just waiting on permitting from CDOT for the final camera. In the short time that they have been installed, the officers have caught a couple people with active warrants for their arrest. And we've got some cameras that are being tampered with. We opened up a criminal case, charges pending, for the suspect when they're caught. What they're doing is they're turning the cameras, away from the roadway. They're also, taking paint, and caulking and probably with a pole and covering the lens. We had a flock technician out, today and, fixed all the cameras, realigned them. But we do have, somebody out tampering with the cameras. According to Flock, they have, over 4,000 cameras installed, across the US in, over 42 states. And Silt is the first municipality to have their flock cameras tampered with.
What's the penalty for
Yeah,
it?
gotta be popular for something, you know?
What's the penalty for that?
It,
Like you
Well-
said there's a criminal case.
yeah, so, criminal tampering, is a misdemeanor. However, two of the cameras have had to be, they've been, replaced because they've been damaged, they have criminal mischief. With the value of the cameras, what they cost to replace, it's bordering on felony charges at this point.
It all looks very bad on the job application if someone is caught with this, right?
Yeah.
All 4 are being messed with, right?
All 4, correct, yep.
Yeah, cause last week I saw 2 public works guys, trying to straighten one. I'm like, what on earth are they doing?
Yeah, they're turning them back, yep. So I think what it does is it highlights the need for us to have the system. Obviously, people are tampering with the cameras for a reason, they're trying to hide something. We do have criminals in Silt, that's why part of the reason we wanted to get the flock system to begin with.
Any thoughts on prevention?
Well, let's not talk about that. Let's not show our cards.
Yeah, it's an active
We
case.
have measures in place.
No, I just didn't know if you're gonna put a steel cage around the thing
Yeah.
or razor wire on top, that's what I was wondering.
Yeah, we're considering options. Yep.
Gotcha.
So, Flock is simply just another tool that officers, use to perform their jobs more effectively. Just last week, we successfully, used Flock to, locate a missing and suicidal, party that was on Silt. And we're able to find an area where the person was within a matter of 20-30 seconds of accessing the system. And also wanted to remind everybody that the flock cameras do not focus on traffic violators. They do not issue speeding tickets or tickets of any kind. The goal of flock is to apprehend criminals, to focus on stolen vehicles, wanted people, and locate endangered people, Amber Alerts, missing and suicidal people, as well as serve as a crime deterrent, to help keep the towns, keep our community safe. And then I just wanted to highlight one news article. It was during the second assassination attempt of presidential nominee Trump in Florida. The Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office used their flock system to locate and apprehend the suspect in that case.
Yeah, I think these cameras are a prevention you know, knowing who's coming in and out of the community. They're not there to write you a ticket because you roll through a stop sign. They're not there to,
Yeah.
you know, write you a ticket because you're speeding. They're there to identify a vehicle that maybe is stolen, maybe a missing person. That's what they're there for.
Oh, yeah, I get that, yeah. And
And-
then all the ones
but
I
it-
see in Glenwood, they're mounted so far up on light poles, there's no way you're gonna
Yeah.
get to them with a ladder.
And I think there's a misconception from some people that these are, you know, red light cameras.
Yeah,
And that's
I think you're right.
what,
Like Big Brother.
like Big Brother.
I think you're
I mean,
exactly right.
It is Big Brother because we're identifying vehicles that are coming in, but they're vehicles that we want to identify instead of just the average person driving through the community.
They're not used to track every vehicle that comes through. They used to be able to locate specific vehicles that are wanted for a certain reason.
Correct. And that's, there's a key distinction there that I think the whole purpose of this discussion tonight or this update was just to put that back out there to make sure people understand that that's what this system is for. More than anything, I think probably, the greatest thing we did last week is we were successfully able to locate somebody who was in danger and take care of it.
That's all I have. Do you have any questions?
No, looks like they're working.
I've had one person reach out in Mesa View subdivision that asked what we could do to get one put on their street. So while there are some people in town that may not want them, there are other people that do want them. Yep, so. Finding a suicidal person is the exact reason why we have these, or finding people that have warrants.
Can you remind us, how long are those video records kept?
For 30 days.
It's 30 days.
Yeah.
So anyone who's listening, who's worried, your data goes away after 30 days.
And really, at the end of the day, it's no different than going through a toll road. They read your license plate and send you a bill. This reads your license plate and lets us know if someone we're looking for.
It'd be nice if they would catch faces 6 inches away from the camera.
We're working on that piece.
Okay, well, thank you for the update.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Yes, thanks. Dan.
The next item on the agenda is the offer to purchase the Holiday Inn Express property. I will turn this over to management.
Let me get down to the right spot. We have received an offer to purchase. This was unsolicited.
going into an executive session for this?
We will.
Okay.
We have received an offer to purchase from, an unsolicited offer to purchase from the individual who is in the process of purchasing the Holiday Inn Express on the south side of the interstate. The issue that the purchaser has run into is right now the lease is down to 23 years. And they have difficulty in getting the financing necessary to purchase the Holiday Inn Express. Right now, the town's water utility owns the parcel that the Holiday Inn Express sits on. Don't know the reasoning behind it, but currently the land is leased. It's approximately 4.5 acres. The land is leased for $500 a month, so $6,000 a year. You know, as I state in my memo, I believe that it's in the town's best interest to dispose the property. I don't necessarily believe that the town should be in the real estate business at all. I would argue that we should probably work towards disposing of the property. Won't go into details of the offer to purchase. I think it would be best if we had a conversation in executive session and you can confer with legal counsel and get some advice on how to proceed.
Okay.
Mayor Michael, make a motion to enter into an executive session for the purpose of determining positions relative to matters that may be subject to negotiation, developing a strategy for negotiation, and instructing negotiators under CRS section 24-6-402 subsection 4E, sale of holiday and special property.
I'll second. Motion made by trustee Engelhardt to enter executive session. That motion was seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Hanrahan. Let's have a roll call vote, please.
Sheila, you wanna come do a roll call vote? We're having technical difficulties. She has little legs. It's not like, it's not like Amy.
Got a pedometer on today.
Trustee Seaver,
Here,
trustee Poston, here.
Oh,
And then
Aye or nay?
Aye or nay? We're voting to go in.
Yes or no?
Okay, we'll try this again. Trustee Seaver,
I.
trustee Poston,
Aye.
trustee Engelhardt,
Aye.
trustee Klassen,
Aye.
trustee Britnall,
aye.
pro tem Hanrahan,
Aye.
Mayor Michael.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. We will take a short recess here to get the executive session all set up.
You actually attended, or you here for a reason?
The executive session. For the record, if any person who participated in the executive session believes that any substantial discussion of any matters not included in the motion to go into executive session occurred during the executive session, or that any improper action occurred during the executive session in violations of the open meetings law, I would ask you state your concerns for the record. Seeing none, the next item on the agenda would be our manager and staff reports.
You have my report in your packets. I'll just add a couple comments. I think our fall leaders forum that occurred last Wednesday evening went well. There was 25, 26 people that attended. I think there were a lot of great conversations. It was a beautiful night, so it was very enjoyable. Also, you know, there's a fair amount in there from Representative Velasco's visit to Silt. She included in her newsletter, and I would say that based on Representative Velasco's commentary about our ORC, Sarah, even though I spelled her name wrong in my report. But Sarah did a great job, and as Dan Galvin indicated in his report today, she did a phenomenal job with the Colorado Water Resources and Power Development Authority for their meeting. They were very engaged, and you know, we're very pleased to see their financing doing something good for Silt. I'll leave the thunder to Joe for an update on Home Avenue. And then the last thing, hopefully everybody had a good look at the pedestrian bridge and mall concept that we're making a few tweaks to, but that's generally how we're proceeding with the pedestrian bridge. And with that, I'll shut my mouth.
Home Avenue was paved. So we fixed all our stuff. Should get a final bill by the end.
I saw
Yeah, that was,
text went out about a water thing that got taken care of.
We got taken care of it with the water service. There's still a hole in the middle of M Avenue, which the crew will repair tomorrow, but they did get the water service back on, so they're in line. We are back in water. Best guess, how long was the water out? Approximately half the day.
yeah, it was 4 or 5 hours at least.
But at least it was midday when many homes
Yeah.
were probably empty with kids being in school and adults being at work. It's a matter, they had a matter of 13 valves shut, which a lot of them did not shut well, so that's more of our infrastructure that we have to repair, you know, up to our failure valve. It's an ongoing process.
Community development. Director, do you have anything you'd like to?
I got my staff report done a little too early and it didn't make it into the packet, but she looked at it and put it in front of everybody. And it essentially highlights everything that I went over during budget, as far as numbers, yearly numbers. But if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Oh, I just have a question on licensing. So like, we have our food trucks have to have a business license. What about the people that are continually selling products in the town of Silt on street corners? Are they also?
They're supposed to have their license.
So tamales on Saturdays?
Yeah, and the green chili guy, I mean, are those people?
The green chili guy is licensed.
Okay.
The guy that's roasting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he has his vendor's license, so if they're not there year round with a storefront, then they're considered a vendor. So the chili roaster has his vendor's license, and then, the melon, I think it's
Yeah.
Harvey Gallo melons,
Yeah,
they have theirs,
Okay.
their vendor's license, yeah.
I just had someone ask me whether those people had to be licensed also or not, so.
They do, it's just a different type of licensing, since they're not year round, with their primary storefront.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes,
Do we have a limit on them, on the vendors?
we do not currently have a limit on vendors.
So does that mean we can't say no, or does that mean we have no criteria to say no?
It means that we have no criteria.
I'm thinking in terms of like the roundabout, and there's already 2 food trucks there on opposite corners of it. How many do we need in that location that are selling similar, if not identical products? Sort of the density argument.
And the food trucks are a site plan review. So they have to,
Right,
those are
they're
the pre-existing.
Semi-permanent
non-conforming ones.
existing facilities and whatnot, but I'm saying in terms of a vendor who shows up every Saturday or X number of days per week. Do we have a policy or a means by which we can say no, because there's already 2 food trucks doing the same thing in what's effectively the same place?
Mhm. Yeah, we currently don't.
Because they went through a much more rigorous process to get their approvals, and now are they losing business because of a vendor who went the quick, easy route? Like, what's the economic impact on those embedded businesses? Because somebody took a shortcut, and I'm not saying, I'm trying to come up with a means by which we have more control over those outcomes, so that when someone does invest the time, the cost, the effort to get that approval, that a year later, they're not competing against someone who didn't bear the same costs.
So they got, some versus a vendor license versus business license.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the vendor license is typically 3 consecutive days or less. So I do see that, the chili roaster is not there all of the time. That he's just kind of there randomly, but he's not supposed to be there for more than 3 consecutive days.
But
Yeah, looking more into the future.
yeah,
as we
the
get
devil's
more
advocate,
vendors.
Yeah.
let's
I
call him
understand.
Derek, would say he's probably there during the 3 busiest days
Mhm.
for the people who went through the business licensing process. It's,
Yeah.
again, it's trying to level out that playing field, particularly for people who've made the investment, the time, the money, the energy, the effort to get the proper business licensing. I think we should be prioritizing honoring those agreements.
No, I see your point, but the same argument could be made, well, okay, brick and mortar, these are food trailers, so they're taking a shortcut from the brick and mortar. You could almost have that argument too, so where they're
More similar
already.
in terms of business approval.
Their
Yeah,
licensing is
but-
the same between a brick and mortar and
Yeah, the licensing is
actually,
the
it's written
thing, but
stricter for it.
the cost is so much less.
Yeah, from a monetary standpoint, it may be less, but I'm aligned with the mayor on this, that they're still going through the same vetting process.
Yes.
For the business itself.
That's true. But I'm just saying, if you're looking for shortcuts, well, food trailer is a shortcut to brick and mortar.
Is that something we can think about?
We
And
certainly
maybe
can.
come up with an early draft on how can we better manage this? To ensure that the businesses we're trying to help start are sustainable.
We certainly can.
Thank you.
I'd like to have a food truck court, so they're all in one location.
Me too.
It's so nice in Moab.
Yeah.
To get out there and have the 15 trucks right there.
When you're walking around with your kids and they all have different ideas of what they want for dinner, yeah, go over there. Go.
kids and I ride there after we ride for the day out on the trails.
Yeah,
Just go down, it's easy.
it's really, yeah, I like. We should have that discussion.
I think it's a pavilion maybe, because we love the pavilion here. It's a food truck pavilion.
Pedestrian pavilion with a food truck.
Yeah.
Nice ring to it, I
Yeah.
think. Anyway, sorry.
Sure. That's all I had. I didn't think that was the whole conversation. Okay. Any other staff? I know we don't get to hear our other two staff members tonight, so. Updates from the board and board comments. Trustee Poston,
No names, man.
trustee Moore?
I would like to say, thank you to whoever got us linked up with CML. And is keeping us on track with being active members with CML, because as we have a very tiny voice in the grand scheme of things, if we're trying to state our needs or our desires or our opinions to the state or the Fed. So when we join forces, we're much more effective, and we're much more cued into how to help ourselves and help our people. So thanks again for that. And I've been going to their things and learning a lot, and I feel like I'm bringing that stuff back here, so.
Nice, thank you.
Just thanks for the community event the other day, or last week, that was great over there at the, Linda. Thank you them for them to hosting it and, all of that, and just look forward to the upcoming stuff coming up.
Trustee Clausen?
I have a couple questions for staff, which I should have asked earlier. The roundabout lights, the street lights at the east roundabout, they're out. Are they?
Streetlights are out.
Yeah, the tall ones.
I think those are XLs, but I will.
Okay, yeah, no, that was my next question. Are they even ours? Are they
They might
XLs?
be XLs.
Yeah, okay.
Check on.
Yeah, it was just, driving the van to work, it's always dark, so I just thought I'd ask about that. And I noticed you put in all the crosswalk lights at the 9th Street roundabout.
All but the one on the west side.
Yeah, but I pushed the button and are they not
They're not
running
turned
yet?
on.
Okay, because I'm like,
We're waiting. See, I told you there, they have to put a new pole by the liquor store then.
oh, okay.
They've got to move for the existing one. And so we get that one in, which is supposed to be this week.
Yeah, oh,
All four of those crosswalks.
but that's nice, yeah, because there's just one before, now we got all four, so that's nice. And the Anderson parcel, you see, there was some grants, or is there any, or is this not the time to ask for an update?
We have to own it before we can apply for any grants.
Okay, so then that's what I was wondering, I read in one of these reports where there was some grant money, so, okay, so that answers.
And those conversations are happening with his attorney.
Oh, okay, so forward movement is, okay, I just, yeah, curious, and then I had a question for, whomever. Cause we've been talking about trails and stuff like that, and then. My question is, some of the existing trails in town, like the one at Spruce Meadows, the one along the ditch there, is that the town's trail?
Yes, I believe.
Okay, and I was just wondering, with all the talk of trails and stuff, and yeah, I know we had the grant for the trails out of town, I just didn't know if there's any money or any thought of improving the existing trails that we have.
The trail along the ditch there and Spruce Meadows, that's a ditch, a trail to nowhere. Because I think there's
It just goes up the stairs.
It goes up the stairs at the end, and I just didn't know.
we talked about going back there and cleaning the trail, so you can at least walk down it, because every time they clean the ditch, that's where we put their spoils.
Yeah, okay.
And the ditch company did not clean up their spoils. So it'd be a constant.
Yeah.
We're gonna go back this year and clean it up.
Yeah.
And then. At least you can walk.
Oh, no, I'm not unhappy with anybody, I'm just asking, and then. Because there are various trails and subdivisions that don't seem like they're utilized. You know, and I don't know if some of these are even private property or if it's town property that we don't want to use. Like there's a trail in Eaglesview, you go up by the irrigation tank. And then there, you cut through the yards and there's a fence on both sides. I mean, there's a trail easement there. And, you know, I mean, I'll walk through it, but then, you know, the neighbors are kind of looking at me like, what are you doing in my yard? You know, so it's like, I mean, nothing's ever said, but I just didn't know if those things in the future, if they need to be more dedicated as a trail, or if we just leave it alone. So it's just a thought.
I think when we update our comprehensive plan, we have to spend a little bit more time on trails. Talking about trails, making sure that subdivisions that come in have connectivity and trails as well as roads. But
Yeah.
there's some work we need to do related to our trail system in internal town.
And like connectivity to schools, maybe.
Well, in doing our comprehensive identification of what trails we do have.
Yeah.
And what belongs to. Sometimes those little side trails get lost in the mix.
Yeah.
And publishing it online,
Yes,
so that people know where the trails.
yes.
Trail map, what's in all that concept.
Straight out of the nineties.
Yeah, and then, you know, all I have, you know, the one thing I am upset about is, you know, this is for the citizens out there. You know, don't be driving your ATVs and your dirt bikes on the trails. Cause I was walking up First Street and here comes some kid flying around the corner on a four-wheeler. You know, and I mean, yeah, it's a blind corner, you can't see anything. You know, so then the kid drives off into the ditch and onto the road and everything, and I'm yelling at him, you know, and stay off the trails. So, but anyway, I'm just saying, you know, for everybody out there, you know, yeah, sidewalks and the bike trails are for bicycles and pedestrians, you know, and keep your ATVs and motorcycles off of things. That's all I have.
Well, trustee Seaver.
Notice we got the front doors in,
They're in.
they work, look pretty nice.
They are pretty nice.
We're uptown now, we're somebody.
For something.
No, that's all I have, just come in on the front doors. We had a good time at Escalante, that was really nice. A lot of people there. Turned out really nice, good event.
Did they fix the sensor on the front doors so that when town staff went in and out of that office, that it didn't open and close the doors all?
They're supposed to be back there tomorrow. Hopefully they can fix that and fix the keypad.
Because that was funny, as people were walking in, I don't remember why I was here, but as people kept walking in and out of that door into the clerks and the staff's area. front doors
The doors kept
open. Yeah, I was like, that'll be great in January.
Just, you know, little electrical tape on the sensors will be just fine, cover half of it, yep.
Okay, Mayor Pro Tem.
So two things, going back to the Leaders Forum. Great event, I got to meet and interact with people from Quebec up to Carbondale and every community in between. We had electeds as well as candidates for local office, county office, state senate, and state reps.
Yep.
So it goes back to this mindset of mine, which is we've got to get the brand of Silt out there, and a lot of our projects in the future aren't just gonna be ours, they're gonna be our whole community. So it was a great event in that sense, and thank you to Jim. I think I foisted this on you shortly after your arrival. Welcome. And staff, particularly Sheila and team. I was sending out invites to people the day of, and I know some of them confirmed and were able to get on the list, so thanks for all your efforts to pull it off. And thanks to Rizlanda for hosting. Appreciate that, from Mitchell and Cole.
And thanks to Alpine Bank.
And thanks to Larry Stewart and Alpine Bank, even though he couldn't join us because he was eating chili.
Delicious food.
Yeah, great food. Thanks to Carly and Two Forks for their efforts. The second thing to reinforce what you were saying, trustee Engelhardt, the CML process has been great. We went. Tim, Jerry and I went to the event in Grand Junction as kind of a meet and greet. Got to introduce ourselves to the CML people who were stunned to see us. And I attended the first official policy committee meeting where again, the main comment was, "You're from where?" But having gotten through that introduction, it was great. They moved really fast. The meetings are 2 or 3 hours long, but there are like 40+ things to vote on. So it's very fast action. You have to do your homework and be prepared to ask questions. but they moved the docket very quickly to get through things, but it was really interesting to see what other communities are challenged with and how they're leveraging CML to get their voices heard up in the State House in Denver. I'm learning a little more with each interaction I have with them, but I think it's gonna be valuable for us over time. And you're still gonna come to some.
Absolutely.
Just because I'm there doesn't mean you can't.
I will come to any events that I can, and the one thing I forgot to say when it was my turn is, it was really funny going to that one because everyone was saying, you know how they say when something's lit, that it's like a fun party? But all of these town managers were talking about how their town is lit because they've got their fiber optic internet up and running, so that was really fun.
Okey dokey.
It was lit.
And I didn't even ask for an update. You're welcome.
Would be the same update I gave you last time.
That came up at the
How many
CML policy meeting.
Billions of dollars have we spent, and how many people have we connected to the internet? 3?
We'll get there. And also, I was gonna say, we're never the smallest town. There's always a smaller town with bigger problems than us. I think about going, you know, there's people who you hear from people who have gone through things, and it's just, you learn a lot.
All problems are scale.
That's it for me. Kim, are you done?
Sorry,
No. I forget.
Yeah, you guys are done, perfect. First, I want to thank Derek for reading my comments into the meeting last time when I was gone.
Verbatim. It was
Verbatim, he did great, yeah. So the resolution number 33, series 2024 was the one about, the grant for non-motorized, trails. And I believe one of your comments at the end, I think, was that in Moab, they can coexist, motorized and non-motorized. Somebody said it at the meeting when I rewatched it.
Watched it twice.
Once.
They said rewatch.
Rewatch, well, when I was on, I watched it.
Watch the broadcast.
I watched the broadcast. And they do, I mean, on motorized and non-motorized do somewhat coexist in the Moab area. But just last year, the BLM closed off 318 miles of motorized trail in that area. The other places in Utah, they closed 98.4 miles of trails to motorized vehicles, but they still allow non-motorized on these things. So the pattern that you see, especially as being a motorized vehicle user, is as soon as non-motorized moves into an area, the motorized gets kicked out. It gets banned from that area. And then they push the motorized into a smaller area, and then it gets overused. So then they close that area down also. I mean, in the closure in Utah, they also closed 120 dispersed campsites in that area. So now those people have to go camp closer together with other people. Once the density then increases, then you end up with those places getting overrun, and then they get closed down eventually too. So that is why I'm so passionate about making sure that any agreement that we do with the BLM will state that they cannot close the motorized use. Utah, the state of Utah is suing the BLM over these closures because they are technically roads falling back on an 1876 law that said that they could build public roads on public property. And now they've changed that. So, I'm all for adding motorized trails, but not losing the public use for another group of people. The only other question I had is, what happened to the speed limit signs on the overpass?
They were taken down.
Down? So do we know what the speed limit is now on the overpass?
It's not 15.
It's 25 miles an hour
25 now.
posted.
Okay.
All streets in the town of Silt are 25 miles an hour unless posted otherwise.
But we don't own the overpass.
But we posted.
So so we posted it, so it's 25? Okay, so for the public, it's 25 now. One more thing, can we reach out to CDOT, have them fix their paving job from last year?
I can talk to Joel, because they'll be out here this week to fix the crosswalk.
We're actually fixing Man Creek, so I think they've been aware of it, because they were on Man Creek today, fixing all that one, all the overpass and are doing that, so.
Contractor that did it, see that.
So I would get a hold of somebody.
Yeah, so they should, yeah.
Cause they were there most of the day on Man Creek working on.
Tired of hitting that on your
I mean,
computer every
it's-
morning?
That is a
They
prime
cut out,
example
like
of
they cut
wasting
out
taxpayers'
that
dollars.
high spot or that big lump, and then they redid that, so.
So, yeah, I mean, if the contractor did, then it's real easy, I would think,
I would think so too.
to call
I
it
would call it
contractor. See what they can do. If CDOT did it, then shame on them for doing crappy jobs. Actually, we have an attorney here too with us. So, how does the process work? Semi cuts the corner at the top of the on-ramp and takes out the Jersey barrier. Does their insurance not ever pay for that damage and then CDOT gets paid to fix that? And if I run into someone's car, my insurance pays and it gets fixed, or if I hit their fence. So, that damage,
I'd have to get back to you on that.
okay, or can we check with CDOT and see what that?
Are you talking about the barrier right there on the off ramp where the cone's sitting there?
Yeah, I mean, that thing, all turning right, left, anything on any on-ramp in this town, the guardrails are smashed, signs get knocked down.
It's all over the place.
Jersey barriers, yeah,
I think you would have to have an actual incident report and a citation issued that somebody would be able to go after.
but yeah,
So if there's,
but I mean,
if there's none of those things, CDOT will not have an opportunity to go after anybody. So it's incumbent upon somebody calling it in and then them being stopped and cited. And then it becomes, I know in insurance cases, CDOT will come after people.
yeah. I mean, I was just thinking, I know we've pulled semis off of the roundabout with cranes, so pretty easy to cite that person. We pull them off with cranes at the on-ramp. But the repair had never happened.
Well, they're certainly liable for it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the basic purpose of liability, so, whether or not the insurance policy they have covers incidents like that, you would think it would. Is the other question, but, you know. How to empower CDOT or force CDOT's hand to, make these repairs is a
It's a
separate question.
different situation, yeah.
Well, and I will, derail it a little bit more, but we have gotten a complaint on our parking ride in the Accord Edition incident. But that's all CDOT.
That's all CDOT, yeah. Okay. I got nothing else, so. Next item on the agenda,
Mr.
adjournment.
Mayor, make a motion to adjourn.
All right, motion by trustee Seifert to adjourn the meeting, seconded by trustee Brittenall, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Oh.